Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Buoy Report. Got a really fun episode for you. I sat down with Jamie Mitchell and Jojo Roper a couple years ago, right after the Eddie and historic winter that we had. I got a download of a couple really good swells from them, travels to Puerto, travels to Todos Santos, chasing swells up to Mavericks and Jaws and the Eddie Icao. And I think you're going to enjoy this one. These guys are some of my favorite humans in the world. They have paired up over the years chasing really good swells, and they're just a bunch of maniacs when the water gets moving huge and heavy. And I love this one. This is a cool one. So enjoy. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Buoy Report Podcast, where we are documenting waves of energy, from big waves to renewable energy waves, thought waves, and mind waves. Hope you enjoy. Aloha. Carry on. How you guys doing? Thank you very much.
Got it. There we go.
It's all right. You can plug your sponsor, Sierra Nevada.
I just wanted it.
Kirkland sparkling water. Costco special.
One of each.
Water?
Beer.
Sierra Nevada make water? Those fucking geniuses?
Hop water.
Interesting.
For those sober people.
Okay.
Me.
All right. How you guys doing?
Good.
Good,
All
mate.
right. Well,
Good.
Good. Well, I guess we could dive straight into it, or we could just chit chat for the little 2 minutes. So I don't know. I'll give you the elephant in the room. I finally got back in the water. I got run over at Middles body surfing. So
Nice.
been out of the water for 6 weeks, and some dude on the soft top just fucking T-boned me and Cy Smiley. This straight car wreck.
Gotta watch out for those guys.
All right. Well, let's have that a little bit more. We'll dive straight into it. Well, thank you, gentlemen. It is Wednesday, the 15th, about 4 p.m. Hawaii time, and March 15th. And I wanted to do a little post-winter analysis. We've been talking. I mean, Jojo only calls me up when the waves are good, and he's kind of like one of those fair weather friends that gives me a holler and wants to see what a Jaws is going to do. I don't know how he treats you, Jamie, but I'm assuming it's probably
I
the
tell
same.
Jamie everything.
And it's been a hell of a winter, and we've got a couple different subjects to go over. But I guess do me a favor, just give each of you guys give me a little brief introduction of who you are and where you're at and where you're calling in from right now. So, Jojo, you first.
I gotta give respect and let the old man go first.
Okay.
Respect your elders.
Exactly.
Well, I am Jamie Mitchell, originally from Australia, but living on the North Shore of Oahu, Sunset Beach. So
Okay.
I'm calling in from there. And yeah, thanks for having us, Shaun.
No worries. Jojo.
Jojo Roper from San Diego.
Okay.
Calling in from home.
All right. Thank you for figuring out daylight savings time for us. So yes.
Anytime.
No worries. So yeah, I'm having fun with this, and our relationships go back quite a bit for a couple different things. Jamie, I met you in some of our first sort of early paddleboard races when you used to come stay with us and train on the Maui Downwinders. Jojo, I've seen you since you're a little grom when I was going to San Diego State, and when I was hanging out down in Windansea with Roseman and your dad. But I guess how was the winter for you guys? Who wants to take the floor first?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the winter was actually spent with this guy. So it's
That's normal though.
yeah, I think I think as big wave surfers, you have your team or your groups that you like to travel with, or that you trust, or that you've linked up with and feel comfortable with. And and over the past God, I don't know how long now, probably too long. But yeah, myself and Jojo have been linking up to go to most of the swells that we go to, whether it's been Nazaré or Jaws, Mavericks, this year, specifically Todos, actually.
Yeah.
But it's been fun, man. It's, I enjoy traveling with Joe, and we had a good time this year. And, I think it was a bit of a weird winter. I would say, like it started off okay, and then went gangbusters for January. Just went off the Richter, and then it sort of just died again. I mean, I don't know what it's like for you over in Maui, Shaun, but today feels like summer, dude. It feels like it's just winter is gone. Summer
it's
is
as flat as the North Shore gets right now. It's blowing Kona. It's only weird because it's blowing Konas right now, but it's because like I got hurt on that eddy day, and it started raining and the trade winds, and it basically went into spring pattern as soon as almost that swell, and that's been
Yeah. So I guess we had some great waves on the North Shore. Nothing giant, sort of. I'd say early season. Lots of good sunsets, some outer reefs. And then, January came along, and the West Coast went crazy. So I linked up with Joe and Greg, and we sort of posted up down in Mexico for those two giant swells that ran through the West Coast, and ended up being down in Baja for a couple of weeks, I think. And then
with your little fire drill in between.
Did you stay there the whole time, Jamie?
I was there for that. Yes, I was there for that we went for that first swell, and then we just saw that second one coming. But then that the first eddy got called on.
Yeah.
So then I was on the way home, and then it got called off. So then I was lucky enough to get off the plane and not go all the way there. Stayed again for the second swell at Todos, and then we hightail out of it because that freaking incredible eddy swell came. So, I would say that was the highlight of my winter, was that that month.
Okay.
January. I mean, there was nothing out of the ordinary for home here, as you know. Good waves, good sunset, good pipe for the pipe guys. Some really good outer reef days, light winds, and then when we were in California, there was still good waves in Hawaii, but I love Todos, I've always loved going there. It's a great vibe, just the whole thing, going out there, and being with Joe and Greg, like it's southern, like Todos is Southern California, is like it's the gateway to big wave surfing, right? Like that's where you cut your teeth, and so it's good for me to be with those guys. They really froth out on Todos, and it's a great wave, you know what I mean? But you can see that they're super pumped and energized to be going to their spot, and so I feed off of their energy, and get to see Jojo and his element, and Greg, they've got the skis, they've got their gear, they're running the fire drill. It's like when we come to Maui, you guys are running your fire drill, it's good to get in out of like where you're running it yourself, or to just sort of going with the flow and rolling with those guys, so that was fun for me as well. And we had a great crew. We got some good waves. We had, we got some crazy stories about that trip.
Okay, so let's roll it back, because I really want to break down all those little elements, because there's a couple really good pieces. Let's rewind maybe 48 hours before that. So we're starting with the almost eddy swell. Jojo gives me a call. What do you think? What do you think the wind is? I was like, I don't know. It was iffy. That swell really smoke screened us over here in Maui. I went down to the cliff the night before that swell, and you're about to come in that night, and I don't think you didn't, or you're going to come in the morning of. But Jojo, and that was where.
Big mistake.
I was like, it was howling north winds the night before, and I'm like, there's no way it's going to be nice and clean. And so our game plan was just going to be, and we knew it was going to be big. And I was like, let's slow the roll, and I'll just go out and we'll have a tow session in the afternoon and catch some bumpy north wind waves. And I basically slept in, checked the buoys, and then I got a call from Billy at like 7 a.m. from the water as he was paddling out. And he's like, it is all time sheet glass. Get down here. And it went from like scramble mode. And then we got a bunch of pictures and we got the actual eyes on report. And it was basically the Hall of Fame paddle session that you missed, Jojo, that you should have been there for. The wind did.
I know. It
was crazy. Like that
one thing I really missed.
That wind forecast really smoke screened everybody and caught everybody off guard how glassy it was. It was an interesting crew that actually showed up. Kyle Lenny was sick. We didn't even come out that day. Billy and Nathan came over, I think. And then obviously Albie and his little crew were definitely on it, paddling off the rocks. And then the wind finally came up north winds about 2:30, 3 o'clock. But and then by then it went to like 30-foot range. And it was like, I didn't get out there till 11 o'clock. Got a couple, but it was already going into that outer rim. Like those guys had already had that nice morning of like sending it on the bowl on an increase in swell. By the time I got out there, it was like 25 feet, like solid, huge. And I basically, like, I checked in with Shaun to either like just go to the North Peak. I sat there and basically probably like 20 minutes later, that huge set came in that caught Zane. If you look at it, it was basically me and him are sitting out there on the boil looking for that set. And it came in from the west. I'm scratching around I barely get around it on the left. And he just barely bailed. And he was like 10, 15 yards behind me, but he bailed. And that first one just drug him back. And then that next one was the viral flip of like that 30-foot set just landing straight on him. And then pretty much that ended the tow session, pretty much right there. The north winds came up right after that. And then, so I guess what happened to you that day? How come you didn't show up?
Because that wind forecast.
Yeah. Okay.
And we had also been at Toto's the Friday before.
Yeah.
And a scramble of like maybe a window. Yeah. And then planning for a Wednesday, possibly Toto's, and the bigger Friday from that swell that Jaws is good.
Yeah.
That thing tracked the whole Pacific, and that thing brushed Jaws and did what it did. And then we were planning for the incoming to California or West Coast. And I think it was just like scramble for a short window, but then ended up being a long window. And it was probably a very large mistake.
Yeah. And then I ended up
the forecast this year were not horrible. It was just like, it was
careful. You're wearing a shirt.
Yeah, no, something. I mean, it was just, it seemed like it was undercalled. Like every swell was way bigger.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hence the Eddie swell. I mean, that there's been no more famous swell that has been like people calling up going, we should not even run it, to it being the best, biggest Waimea that anyone's ever seen. And I felt like a lot of the swells this year were like that. They were called for a certain size and they were like 5 feet bigger, you know. And
the biggest best Mavis swell was forecasted 9 at 13 from not every single website, every forecaster, everybody, and it came in like 11 at 16 or 17 and Pier West and good. And we missed that one too.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know what it is. If it's just, you know, we're dealing with like Mother Nature is doing different stuff out there, or I don't know if the buoys are calibrated or something, but it definitely felt like to me it was the hardest year to be on it, you know, because you were looking at a swell and you're like, no, the numbers are just not there.
Yeah.
And then you would see the photos of it or get reports and you're like, well, how is that possible? Because those numbers would never, like, you know what I mean? So it was interesting, you know, but I think that's sort of cool in a way too, because it gives the people that live in those spots, like they get those windows when there's no one's coming over, right? So it's sort of that's sort of cool in a way that we still have that mystique or mystery about, you just never know unless you're there.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think my personal theory, I think a lot of storms are actually of similar size and intensity, and it really just depends on that they're twisting, and it just, is it coming by in their location? Is it just going to aim at us, or is it going that way? And most of the times you're just getting these glancing blows. And then if you're just getting a direct shot, then you're in the luck of it.
Yeah.
That's more so the case for West Coast though than you guys. Cause like even that good Jaws day that you're talking about, that was just brushing by as this thing was just going like this, and that you guys just got the brush. Imagine if you got the blunt of that thing, would have been crazy.
Yeah. So I came back to the dock that day, and Chuck called me, and he was putting together the team for the Cortez mission. And then I think I called you guys and jumped on a couple different group chats, that Greg and a couple other top secret ones. And I was like, dude, we just turned 30-foot waves. I don't need to leave my backyard right now for a iffy call. I didn't want to show up and go, but I ended up scoring anyway. So, and you guys were you guys looking at going to Cortez as well, and in that group, those same group chats?
Yeah, we're looking pretty closely at that one too. And our mindset was more paddle and wanting big glassy giant waves to paddle something huge. And it looked like there was more south wind than there ended up being. And all for similar to the forecast thing, like you never know. It's do you miss this for that? This is guaranteed. This is maybe. We all
gotcha.
That was a pretty rough little handful of day or two where we were just spinning in circles. Myself, Jamie, and Greg, just like what to do. It's hard when you have too many options sometimes too. It's funny.
Yeah. And the other option I was actually just going to go is, okay, Cortez to snow to Tahoe. I was like,
yeah.
Right.
I think, and if we're being really honest, I think a big thing of us too is that, the 100-foot wave crew was out there, and they were always going to tow, right? And if we went out and were hell bent on paddling, like there would have come to a point where, like, I don't know, it wouldn't have been
totally.
It would have been drama, So that I think that was a big part of our decision making and not going as well. That we just, we didn't want to be out there and have jet skis running through, like, and they're towing and we're trying to, you know what I mean? It was just, I think that was a really big part of like the really last minute call of, are we going to go or not, and so, but look, it is what it is, right? Yeah. You zig and you zag, and sometimes you zig the right way, sometimes you zag the wrong way. And not that we went the wrong way, like Todos was firing as well that day, but then we ran into Todos issues.
So let's go to the Todos story. So run me through the fryer drill. You're coming from San Diego? Are you guys, and you're coming from the North Shore? You're linking up. Are you guys driving down the night before? Or are you doing like a 3 a.m. launch out of San Diego to get to Ensenada?
It depends on the situation, because we had a handful of people, and when Todos gets big, they shut down all the harbors. Okay. Like the harbor masters, like all harbors in Ensenada are shut down. You can't get out, and it's illegal to leave any of them. So we went down early on the first swell, and we figured out a person and a way to get some paper signed and make our way out.
Does that mean this?
Of the harbor? Nah, I wish it was that easy. It'd be a lot easier if it was just a little bit of cash, but we found a way, and we had to, like, everything was like to the book, like CF numbers, insurance, like everything was like pretty strict, paper sign your life away, passports, everything. Like, it was pretty gnarly, the process. And we had to go down. Jamie flew in the night before, I think, or something, and then stayed here with me. And then the next morning we drove down and just started the whole beginning of all that, got everything ready, jet skis, boards, everything that we needed, and went down there. We figured it out on day 2, got it worked out. I mean, to be honest, if worse came to worse, we were going to beach launch the ski and power through 10-foot shore break to get there, but we would have figured out a way. But we had that way to do it, and we did that, and we got it all figured out. And then, but there was a bunch of other crew that was trying to come down and document it all, that ended up taking a boat from San Diego Harbor at like 3 a.m., like you said, actually, and powered down, and probably about a 3-hour boat ride down. Me and Jamie had done it the year before for a Mavericks to Todos swell. And it's rough, but it's totally doable. So yeah, that we were in Mexico and went straight out, and they took the boat from San Diego and went out, and it was some rough seas, but everybody made it there.
Gotcha. So let's talk about the session. Now we're into the water. It's game time. So I guess run through who's catching what, who's safety's in place, and all those other variables of a big wave session.
So are we talking the second one?
Yeah, I guess the almost eddy swell where it has all the big.
There's the first one that was giant.
Okay.
There was the storm that hit the coast.
Yes.
And caused havoc on the entire West Coast. And Todos was huge, that swell.
Okay.
But
I guess I'm probably confused. Yeah, I'm probably confusing two swells.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
The one that smoked
I'm
California and like Santa Cruz and Capitola and all that stuff.
Yeah. That's the first swell. That thing was humongous.
Okay.
Yeah. The second one obviously was awesome. We went full, we were with Greg. So, obviously we went full safety mode like we do, with him. We had a nice boat, that had all our boards on it, because Ian had come in, Paige had flew in. We had Flick Palmatier, myself, Jojo, camera guys, film guys, so we had those guys going out early on a boat. Me and Jojo and Greg, we had skis, so we'll launch and going out there like that. We had the defib, oxygen. We had everything ready to go because it was going to be the day of days and it was going to be an all-day affair. So when we got out there, actually, it was crazy. We got out there, and as we're heading out, it was sort of like a front had come through, and which was sort of not forecast. And we got out there, and it sort of had this weird wind on it, and we were sort of like, okay, let's just go back into relax mode here. We're not rushing anything. We were looking at the Tanner Banks buoys and realized it was getting bigger and bigger all day, so we sort of just put the brakes on as well. And then Joe and Greg had their skis and just sort of started. We were on the way out, and as we get there, a set comes and sort of cleans the lineup up a little bit, and everyone's screaming for our jet skis to go and save everyone. And we're like, oh, okay.
I was on a ski, and I was like, everybody's screaming at me, and they're all help, help, help. We thought something bad had happened. And this guy got caught inside, broke his board. And I came in like hot thinking this guy's like in trouble. And he's like, yeah, my board's broke. And I'm like, okay. And people are like freaking out. I'm like, get on the ski, and like took him to his boat. And that was like the start of that safety. Like all of a sudden, like everybody thinks
you guys were the safety. That's basically not an extra ski out there keeping it. And how many people were in the water right then?
There's 20, 30, Jamie?
Yeah, at least probably.
And nobody brought a ski of their own to watch them. Only photographers shooting. And that's about it. Not doing safety.
There's one.
Yeah. It was just it was a rough one. It was a rough one because you look at. I just go back and look at everything that happened. Right. You look at, Coco got caught. Right, Coco's one of our boys and happy to help, and it's we lucky to have everything there for him to help him out, right? And so that happens, and Greg's got Coco, we've got the boat, we're getting him off the sled onto the boat transom, and then we get him in there, and he's in a lot of pain, and we got the oxygen on him, and then and now our mothership. Our boat is like leaving, this is midday. It's just starting to get pumping. It's going off.
Did the defib and all the oxygen leave too?
Everything, oxygen's on him, like spare boards, like everything is gone because we've just got our skis now, right? So, it was unfortunate, but it just, I come home, I think about it. I talk to my wife and I tell her what happened, and she goes, I'm fucking pissed because what happens if that happens to you now, right? Like what happens if you get fucked up like that and you got none of that gear there, and it's not, I don't want to say it's anyone's fault, but I think that the way that I've sort of tried to think about it is that somehow we need to do better to promote that there's people out there that people can hire. I think that's what I was talking to Jojo and Hargraves after it. and because they were there for the first swell, but for not the second swell, because they were out at Cortez. And I'm like, I think we got to do a better job at saying, hey, there's this guy in San Diego. If anyone's going to Todos, call Ryan Hargraves. He will direct you to lots of great lifeguards that have jet skis. You know, if you're coming down with a group of 5 guys, chip in $200 each, or $100, whatever it is, and have that guy like be responsible for yourself and come down with safety. You know what I mean? And I don't know if these younger kids or people know that that's there. So I don't want to be that guy that's like, that goes off and's like, you guys are irresponsible and this and that. I think that you got to try and look at it from another perspective and go, hey, how can we educate everyone that there are people out there that can help, you know, like, and this is how you do it. This is how you are. It's like coming to Maui, like call someone, like, and they'll direct you to whoever they can to have safety, you know, like, so I think that I'm not saying I've got to do it, but I think we've all, like people that have been there and done that, I think we've all got to do a better job at maybe promoting, like, and educating these kids and people that want to come, because man, you're 18 years old, full of testosterone, you want to prove yourself, like you're not thinking about that. You're just going to surf the biggest swell in California in fucking 50 years, right?
Yeah, you just saved all your money for the blow suit.
So you sort of like, I get it, you know, like, because I've been there, you know, so I get it, but in the same sense of it, I think like instead of calling out people and getting angry, I think it's like, okay, how do we make it better and safer and more attainable and accessible for everyone? You know, that's what I took out of it. You know, I was pretty pissed off that how it all went down. Like Greg didn't catch a wave all day. Like that still trips me out to this day that, you know, and by the time I got in the water after Coco, like the wind had gone onshore, and then I like fell on a giant one going 50 miles an hour and done my ribs, and Jojo got faded and got fucked up, and it just, everything just went from like being so prepared and like ready for us to like, just went the complete 360 the opposite way, you know, like, and you know, and it ended up ruining our day, you know, and so it was, yeah, I mean, that's
a tough one, because you have like the honor of your brotherhood, right? You want to help somebody, but like there's this weird selfish aspect. That's such an internal.
Well, it was also the whole day, you know, like the whole day was people then knew there's jet skis, so they felt safer, and people were like hucking it and getting smoked and waving for a ride, you know, like it was pretty, like there's a lot of, there must have been 20 plus like scoop ups, and there's a guy that went over the falls backwards and took 4 to the chin, and I like let him kind of get a couple to the head, like not like in a mean way or anything, like, but I don't want to, I'm running the risk to drive in and scoop him up. And then I get to him and he's just like done. He's like not even responding to my words. Like he would have been in a lot of trouble had I not gone in after wave number 3 or 4 and scooped this guy up. And then he drive him to the boat and he like jumps off and paddles back out. And I'm like, I'm not like here for every time this is going to happen, you know, like what if somebody that I'm here for falls and gets hurt? Like, and I have to help them. And what would have happened to you if 2 more waves to the face? Like, been in a lot of trouble.
We've had that conversation so many times with our Jaws crew, and triaging, is that the right word? Triaging the protocol of who we go after and who helps, and what happens when resources get tied up.
Yeah, exactly.
And having the comms to know that shit, somebody's hurt, it's not part of our crew, we have to help. Now, let's say Ian or Kai's out the back waiting for the set, and the set comes and they actually, or get caught inside or something like that. So it's a tough, that is a really tough question.
It's the age-old question, man. And you know, I come from a lifeguarding background. I lifeguarded for a long time, and you know, and your gut tells you that guy's, well, is he in trouble or is he just want to help? That's like if I wave my hand, I know that anyone around the world that knows me, like, fuck, if I'm waving my hand, I'm in trouble. Yeah. Like, I'm in real trouble. Like majority of the time, I'm willing to just, work it out, and I'll get picked up when I get picked up. But if I'm waving my hand, it's because I'm in major trouble, like, and I don't know if like a lot of people, and I know there's a lot of people like that as well, but I don't know if that's the protocol for a lot of these guys coming up, and but your gut instinct tells you to go in, because you see someone in trouble and you're like, what if something happens to them? But then you're like, I'm here with my best friends that I train with and do all this thing.
And I've given my word to be there for their back.
Yeah, and they come back out and they've gone over the falls and broke their leg and drown, and I'm saving someone that I have no connection to. Like, that's a heavy situation, man. Like, and now we're talking like families, kids. Like Jojo knows my kids. Jojo stays. Jojo knows my wife. Imagine that phone call. I was looking after some donkey that I didn't know, and we lost Jamie. Like, where, and that's, I mean, that's where we're at, right? Because how do you play that game, and it's a scary game. And I know it happens at Jaws, and I know it happens at Mavericks as well too. Like, you guys are there with your crew, and if you're going into someone's getting washed around to the left there on the rocks like Billy did, like, that's not your crew, and something happens out the back, like, that's unacceptable,
And I hate to say it, but Jamie, you learned that lesson the hard way, probably. I'm gonna go back to that time when you got caught inside,
yeah.
and your safety was was a photographer, but he was scared to go in there, and my pop, yeah. But you're part of our brotherhood, and we were there.
I'm not saying that I'm perfect. Yeah, I've made all the mistakes, but I've learned from them, and I've tidied them up. That afternoon, a rising swell, 25, 30 feet, everyone's gone in. I'm trying to prove a point to myself because I had a horrible session and get caught, and the guy that's on the jet skis too scared to come in, and yeah. Look, I would have been
the craziest
fine.
clip. You've seen the video.
Yeah, I would have washed up.
I was on the rocks, I think. Was that when I was on the rocks? It was at sundown, and I'm looking out, going, "He is dead." That was heavy.
But and your pops was pissed, and I had to have a good hard look at myself too that day and go, okay, like, that was just really irresponsible, and not just on my. But for everyone that had to come and get me in that situation too, and so I learned a valuable lesson from that day. It was my ego that got the better of me, and it never did ever again after that, because that was like on the sun. It was worst case scenario. Sun's going down, everyone's leaving, caught inside. That's
that?
Stupid. That's exactly what I'm talking about now. What I did, that's just. It's really, it's just not acceptable to do that,
Those were 5 30-foot waves. But I've had this conversation with DK, and because working with their teams, and they're grown men making grown men decisions, and we can't be there to save every single one. You have your hierarchy. Obviously, if somebody gets really hurt, you're going to go in there and help them. You'll be there. But it throws out, there's an action plan now. There's actually a chapter in our protocol of what happens with somebody else. But I guess maybe I've never actually surfed Totos. I've been out there on a boat, and it went really windy and shitty and rainy. And I didn't put my wetsuit on. I was over it. But says the Hawaiian. When you get caught inside, do you get trapped into the rocks, or does it wash you away, or does it just kind of pinball you down the reef?
If it's really west, it pushes you into the rocks.
Okay.
Like into the point itself really quick, or it goes into these giant boulders where it would be like going into the inside of Jaws when it starts, like, there's the paddle out over here, and then there's the like the in between, there's kind of that little funny channel, but it still breaks through and it pushes into the rocks. It does that, and there's gigantic boulders. So there is a point where it closes out into here, and then once you're in there, you're in no jet ski world. which gets kind of interesting.
Which is like the monetary risk too, because you're going in to go save somebody, and then shit can go wrong on a grab with the jet ski, and next thing you know, you're on the rocks, and your guys are it's that much more of exposure, right? You know,
and you're 10 miles out to sea. Throw that one into the mix in Mexico.
Yes. Because there was a big out of state or international contingent that came down to surf it. Like you go up to Mavericks, it sounds like there's a lot of skis that go out of that harbor. There's a big crew. There's a lot of dedicated safety over there. It's a little more exposed.
I think that was another thing that we spoke about, like trying to come down from that Todos day, was that like everywhere's different. Yep. You know, like Jaws, you know, you guys have your like solid crews and you know, different fractions of those crews.
Yep.
You know, Todos is like a free for all, you know, to say it at best. And then you know, Mavericks, you go there and it's like Frank and Drake and all those guys are actually like, they're actually promoting that we're going to be there to rescue you.
Yep.
You know, so it's nearly like each spot you know, needs to somehow have that. You need to talk about what each spot creates for itself. You know, like Mavericks feels like it's created this self, like, hey, if you paddle out there, someone's going to save you. Like that's what it seems like to me. Jaws is like, used to be more like that. You know, someone's going to get me, you know what I mean? But I feel like you guys are trending away from that. It's more like, hey, don't come out here if you don't have safety, you know, type of deal.
And there's guys doing some serious scolding if you're not. They're asking you got your water safety? And there's been conscious decisions to let somebody take a couple waves in the head. He's all right. He's inflated.
Yeah. And then, you know, Todos is sort of, it blows my mind that day too. I want to go back to it. Like if we had decided to go to Cortez, like I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that's the $1 million question. Right? Like, what happens then? You know?
Interesting. Well, I think we've covered that one. So there's a good part of this story, the journey home. Who wants to talk about that one?
That was the first one, I think.
That was the first one. Okay.
Yeah,
let's just talk about that anyway. So So this is the biggest storm that's smoke in California, right? It's just mayhem. Piers getting destroyed.
Crazy, like gnarly, like carnage.
And it's like west winds, west swell pounding the coast.
That was like storm surf south winds, like pure west everywhere and humongous. Like that was huge. Like I think one of the buoys had like 32 feet on the California, like 30. Remember that we were shitting when we saw one of the buoys the night before, like to the point I think it was like 36 or something crazy at like 18 seconds. We're like, this is so gnarly, but
that's like heart of the storm readings.
Yeah, exactly. I was like full on ran it over, but yeah, we had a boat go from San Diego, who we had used the time before, and they're a great crew. Powered it down. Surfed all day. It was really big. And then we went to surf this other point break after, and it was kind of average. And that day at Todos was humongous, but lumpy. And then the north wind came up and it was like strong, like gnarly seas. And we had surfed Todos. It was big. It was lumpy. Everybody kind of got a couple, and then we went to the point, surfed, and we all kind of called it. And boat departed back to San Diego. We went south to the harbor and came in, and no joke, like the second that I'm driving my truck in to put the ski in, and somebody walks out with like a platter of margaritas, like we're just like, all right, the day's over. We survived the biggest swell and however long, and
I had like feeling when you get back to land after a big swell.
Feeling. Margarita hit the hand, and you were like, all right, like it was like that exact feeling. And then I get like 3 phone calls from Luca, who was on the boat, and he usually calls a couple times, so I'll let him call a few times and call him back. And then he texts me, he's like, emergency. And I'm like, oh shit. So I call him back, and the seas were so rough going back into the storm or into the swell and then nuking north winds. And the boat was just getting smoked. And they had saw this harbor in Mexico that has been a harbor for 15 years, but on their GPS, it doesn't show that the harbor the past year has been filled up with sand and dried solid. So they go into this harbor to basically just kind of reassess and like, all right, we're getting pounded here. Let's like figure out if we want to go back tonight, if we want to stay the night here and go back in the morning. Go in and dry dock by the surf in a very large boat. And waves are hitting it. It's like turning it. It's trying to flip it. They're just there's tons of camera equipment. There's like, and then let it be known that this harbor is now overtaken by military because it became a little hotspot in Mexico for some illegal activity.
Trafficking, you say.
Trafficking, yeah. And luckily, not all of them knew that. And they called and we just threw everything. We all jumped in 10 hours in our wetsuits, maybe even more that day, into my truck. My truck smelled like piss for weeks. And in the truck, flooring it, going like, I mean, I'm towing a trailer through Mexico, going like 90 plus miles an hour, just like dangerously trying to get there to help all of us. And there's quite a few of us. And we get there and the boat just like, it had just missed the jetty and almost taken the front of it out. We're all in our suits running and just like the military's there as well, trying to like assist, so to say. And we somehow, all of us, turned the thing around, got the props up, spun it. Like, it's an absolute miracle that this worked out, that we got it to a point and then it gets surged deeper into the sand. And then these waves start coming, the tide's coming. We somehow U-turn this thing, get it, the nose pointed straight. The military tied a rope to it and tried to help us tow it out from the end of the harbor. And then they decided they wanted to maybe keep the boat. So they keep towing it. And we ended up having to cut the rope last minute because they kept towing, even though we're yelling stop. And
so it turned into a little tug of war.
Yeah, a little bit. We cut the rope and then the thing gets this next wave and we all are just like pushing and we get this like sigh of relief that like the thing like gets off the sand just enough, props in, guns it. And then the captain charges this like 4-foot beach break in between two jetties and like plows and gets out into the open and just goes south into safe water. And we were all just like over the moon. We're just like, are you like, how did this just work out? It was a miracle, literally a full-blown miracle. And yeah, we got away with that one.
The cops didn't hassle you after on the beach?
We got shook down on the exit, but it wasn't cops, it was military. More like, hey, give us a little something for the help.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it was a sketchy place to be and never really want to go through that again. That's for sure.
I mean, you're definitely a Mexican veteran of going through, traveling down there, going all the south and Puerto and maybe farther south. So you're familiar,
I'm used to shit going wrong, but that was some serious shit and a lot of people and a lot of heads, and that was scary for sure. Like, shit happens in Mexico, like shakedowns are common, like scary things happen, like driving through a checkpoint and military guy throws a gun under your seat and acts like it's yours, and it turns into like, I've had some weird, gnarly things happen, but that was like bad, even though it worked out. You know, that was like pull up and like, this is super bad situation. But
interesting. Cool. Thank you for sharing that. It could have been a lot worse. Yeah, definitely. Like nighttime storm surf boats. Like, was there probably a couple people that weren't the most proficient in the ocean?
That too, and a lot of scared people too. You know, like, that's scary. So it's like, no matter who you are, that's some people first timers in Mexico, and that happened to them. Like, that's pretty gnarly.
All right, cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Shift gears a little bit. Cutting edge big wave surfing. I guess what it means for you guys, and I was teasing Jojo now that there's quite a bit more toe boards in his quiver right now, and it's a toy or a tool that has to be in the quiver. But I guess what I saw on that north wind glassy morning, the no north wind swell, the fake eddy swell on the West Pole was probably some of the most badass cutting edge surfing I think I've seen yet at Jaws. I think maybe only the one swell maybe in December about 2 years ago when Kai Lenny got like 30 waves and showed everybody how to tube ride out there on like from the North Peak. But what Albie and Tori and who else is Tyler and the rest of that crew are doing, it's so committed, so head down technical surfing. It's what in my mind is the most like cutting edge peak of what surfing in general. I don't know, as technical as Medina doing a really tech air, I think the commitment and how the skill level, it's not just take off and go. And this kind of brings out to us. So I guess the question is, what is cutting edge surfing for you? And then we'll kind of lead into that shirt you're wearing, Jamie, and we can kind of talk about that. So who wants to take the floor first?
I'll go. I mean, I think it is. It's like copying, pasting Tory from Backdoor and just inserting him at Jaws, right? And but the commitment level and the technicality and and you can see what type of wave Nathan's looking for as well.
Yeah.
Like I think Nathan is like taking that to like another 75 yards towards the North Peak and trying to do what Albie's doing, but just in a gnarlier spot, maybe.
Yep.
So you can see what they're looking at trying. You can see the mindset of what they're trying to do, and the different approaches. And then you got Billy that is looking for what he wants to look for is that massive one that's does the barrel all across, all the way.
He wants
through.
to get spit twice.
Yeah, and like Ian's wave in the contest that year, except bigger,
Mm-hmm.
But look, there's no doubt, like those guys, they're riding smaller boards, right? So look, I think it looks better a little bit too. Sorry. So yeah, I mean that young Kai Powler kid, I've never even heard his name until this year.
Mm-hmm.
It was like looking at a young Albie. Like,
he's a big boy too. He's healthy. He's got some long arms ready.
Yeah, just
he's built like you. He's ready to paddle.
Looked like a guy that just been watching Albie videos and copy and paste himself into Albie, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean it's what can be done. I think it's smaller boards, better board technology, the same size waves, being able to just react with the boards and get in gnarly positions, better barrels. Like I think that's what we're starting to see, and I think that is cutting edge. Apart from also what the good toe guys are doing, at certain places,
That's that's like its own discipline in itself, though. That's just, and it's badass.
Yeah,
you can't. I love
there's two different sports. It's definitely two different sports, but
mm-hmm.
but I think you can't take away like, towing sort of got us to where we are, and now it's sort of coming back. And I think that what towing did was allow people to be really good on jet skis. And I think when towing went away, a lot of people didn't know how to use jet skis and be good operators. So I think we sort of lost a generation of good people on jet skis, But yeah, look what Kai and Albie and Tori and all those Nathan and Billy, everyone's doing is like, it's insane, dude. It's like, especially when you're out in the water, when you're out there in the water and you're seeing it, like, looking at it on YouTube channel is one thing, but when you're there and you're looking over the ledge and seeing what those waves were doing that day, if it's a big period, and it's really impressive. I mean, it really is, and I'm a fan. I'm a fan of big waves. Like when my time is done, I'm still going to be out there. I still love it. I still love watching it, being a part of it. You know what I mean? Like it's,
I could see you being the lifeguard on the skis, still yanking. You'll be like my pops.
It's heavy water. Man. It's like it's the highest echelon that you can, to put yourself in those conditions in paddling and in those spots to do those waves. There's nothing I think as extreme as that in the ocean.
Yeah, I can barely wrap my mind around what I'll do backside because I'm looking for a way different wave when I'm sitting at the peak. So tell me a little about that 20-foot plus and some awards got given out, and maybe we can run through, but kind of what it means and it's basically like, I see it as like we're really unionizing the pinnacle of our sport, and there's just really trying to back the athletes that are doing it for the love and then getting the compensation. So
it all started maybe 5 years ago when the big wave awards were trying to shift the event to Portugal and take away some prize money. And it was just, in my mind, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, why would we spend money to go to Portugal for less money? Like, this is stupid, And at that time I was just like, hey, like, if we all just get together, the top 10, 15 men and women, and say, hey, we're not going to do this. Like, we think this is crazy. Like, let's see what happens, And I think that we had a meeting, anyway, long story short, we got that. It stayed in California. It was the one that happened at Beach Life Festival, the first one, Redondo Beach. The prize money stayed the same. And for me, in my head, I was like, okay, like that was a bit of a light bulb switch that went off and said, hey, like we have some say. Like, power is a bad word, but we have like, in numbers, we have the ability to say stuff and people are going to listen, and that's when we created the BWSA, at the time was the Big Wave Surfers Association, right? And that's sort of where it started, and now it's transpired into changing into Heavy Water Surf, a company that myself and Zach Porter, my partner, created. And through COVID, and we went out. My goal was to, like, I wanted to see guys like yourself, Benny Wilkinson, Cole Christensen, guys that were still out there doing their thing that weren't Kai Lenny's and the superstars coming up, and then also these kids like Luca Padua and these young girls like Skylar and stuff. I wanted to see them have a pathway to, come and say, hey, Jamie, like, I want to be a big wave surfer. Like, what's the pathway? Like, how do I get there? Like, is there any money? Instead of saying, hey, you're crazy, go and get the education, because there is no money. I wanted to try and change that and show that there maybe there is a way we can have a pathway for these kids and people to keep continue doing what they love to do. And we have such a wide array of like generations that are such rad people, like Rusty and Greg and Cole and all you Danilo and all the older generations, and then you got like the middle generation, sort of like myself and Jojo, and then you got these young kids.
He just aged you, Jojo. You're still a girl.
I was just gonna say that.
He's pretty young, but
you're putting me in.
Joe's been around for a while, but I just was like, what can we do? What can we do?
You're limping with a bad hip right now. That's why.
Yeah.
I just broke my back in the same spot he broke his last year this time.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah.
But I was like, how can we get together and create something? And look, the WSL is doing the contests. Obviously there's no world tour. There's one contest at Jaws and one contest at Nazaré. I sort of felt like the Big Wave Awards were on the decline. But we wanted to work with WSL to keep what good things were happening there, to keep that, but then also, I guess put our own destiny in our own hands, right?
Yes,
like, I'm not one to sit back and go, like, there's one contest, this is the prize money, you guys sign it, you guys do it, and that's all you got. I was like, fuck that. Like, that's not the way it should be going, and especially
show up to the contest.
Let's go out and create. create something for ourselves that it's not a contest. We're not trying to compete with the WSL. We want to, like I look at every swell as a contest. You got the best men and women there trying to get the best waves. I'm like, so how do we incorporate that and create something around that? And that's sort of what we've done with Surfline, the 20-foot plus, the live streaming, and the Surfers Fund is what we call it. We have a group. We have $300,000 this year of money to give out to recipients throughout the year that we, I call them holy shit moments, where it's like you see something, you're like, oh, wow, that was insane, like moments like that. And just start to create this content based around the big wave surfing thing. And I believe that we have some of the best sporting content in the world, hands down. I think the Eddie just proved that. It's the most watched surfing event in the history of the sport. Not the Super Bowl, but the playoffs were on that weekend in Hawaii, and the Eddie outperformed on local TV, outperformed the playoffs from the football. So I think there was between the TV station on the in Hawaii and Surfline's live stream, there was over 4 million people watching the Eddie that day.
That's insane.
So
awesome.
Yeah, it's huge, man. We've all known it, we've all known that we have this great content. What do we do with it? We've always felt like it hasn't been utilized the right way. And I feel like, and even to this year, we haven't really had a chance to do really what we wanted to do. With the swell, like it was weird. All these swells, like the one, like that would have been a great day to do it, but the forecast didn't look like it was going to be that great, so we didn't pull the trigger.
Yep.
Almost Eddie, we done the Surfline live that day, but it wasn't the greatest day. Then you've got the Eddie going, and you want to you should be there filming Jaws because it's it's going to be insane, but the Eddie's the Eddie, right? So then you're shooting the Eddie, so you miss the Jaws day. We never got a Mavs day. But I think the feedback has been great. I think, obviously, look, the money's, we need more money. We're looking for sponsorship. But I think, like the last round of gifts we gave out, Skylar Lickle, $3,500, Albie $3,500, like Shaun Walsh's wave $3,500. Like for me, there's a really great variety of people from all these different swells that got amazing waves. Tom Lowe in Ireland, Justine out at Cortez, Greg's wave at Todos that we're out there for. And, waves that were ridden very well from all around the world for different swells. We were able to give Luke Shepardson another $7,500. We gave the Hawaiian Lifeguard Service Association $2,500. Like we gave out $40,000, and we still have some of that fun for the Southern Hemisphere. So hopefully Cloudbreak, Tahiti,
ships on Jojo.
Yeah,
whatever
it may be, And so, we're staying in our lane. We want to do these live broadcasts and we want to promote everyone that's part of big wave surfing. Just to make things, you don't have to be a part of heavy water surf and all this. Anyone that goes out and gets the wave of the day can be a part of this. The people that have signed up with heavy water surf are just saying that they support what we're doing.
Yep.
It's like, hey, we support this. We think this is awesome. We're supporting Surfline. Like Surfline's such an amazing partner. And I think that we're on the right path, man. I think that sponsors are going to come along. I think people are going to see what we're trying to do. And I think that there's I've got a lot of ideas out there how we can generate more income to go through heavy water surf and Surfline and back through the surfers. So we're just at the beginning. We just created this, COVID hit, and now this year's really the first year we're able to go out and do some stuff, and I hope everyone appreciates it, and I hope that they see what we're trying to do, and we're just trying to create this content that goes out there and shows so these kids can potentially get sponsors and get, to go travel to these places and maybe do this as a career, and then the old dogs still get a chance to go out and do their thing too and potentially do their stuff,
Am I on that list?
Yeah.
No, Jojo, you're part of the grounds.
So that's where we're at. There's
cool, man.
Obviously I could go deeper into it, but it'd just be boring everyone. But I think that it comes from a place of, our hashtag and our motto is for the surfers, by the surfers, and that's really what it is. We have a like a group of the best men and women that when we come out after a bunch of swells, we all, people go, hey, did you see this wave? And we go through all these different waves, and, Twiggy, Kai, Justine, Peter Mel, Andrew Cotton. So, everyone sits down and all these names go through in waves, and everyone comes through and we all vote for what we think were the waves that were special waves, and some people.
I think you're on to something, man. You guys are.
Yeah.
I'll tip my hat to it, but I'm gonna do a little bit of a politicking. Did you see Izzy's barrel that I towed her on?
Yeah. Like, exactly right. And it's like you've sort of got to like try and get out there, and Izzy's a great example. She went out, she's pushing it again now. She went out to Cortez, and there's just so much going on that like eventually, like, I don't want these checks to be like $3,500 going to Skylar and stuff. Like I want them to be 10, 15, 20, like the wave of the, like if someone goes out and gets a mental one at Cloudbreak, like I want that, like a Ramon wave or a whatever it may be, like a Wassel wave that day. Like I want to be able to go, that wave was worth $50,000. And that's not even in the far-fetched of possibilities, like I feel like that's what it should be. That's where I'm hoping to get it to be, is like where we're giving out tens of thousands of dollars for these monumental rides and moments in our surfing history, and it's tough. It's been, me and Zach have been doing this for the last 3 or 4 years on a just shoestring, just pro bono, trying to get this thing going, and we're finally there. And now we just need Mother Nature to really do its thing.
Yeah, so they're calling. I'm gonna have to get sponsored on, but they're calling El Nino next year. So let's rock and roll. I think
we need a Cloudbreak swell. That would be insane. We need just a couple of.
No, we're gonna postpone that to like September, right, Jojo?
Please do.
Oh man,
at least August.
Yeah, I if I could put 2 notes on there, I think there's a conspiracy hat of mine that thinks like the WSL like kind of buried the big wave scene because it was so attractive, and it took eyes away from their golden goose that they were trying to grow, and they bought it. And I don't know, maybe they weren't getting their ROI on it, but like the numbers don't lie at the end of the day, and it's pretty rad people want to see what's going on in the ocean. It's undeniable when you see a man on a little wave at the end of the day. They're just like that. There's a wow.
Little man on a big wave, you mean?
Okay. What did I say? I flipped it around, right? Yes. A little man on a big wave. There's something undeniable about it. The flip side, and this is a lifetime of trying to get into pipeline contests and big wave contests that I completely threw away like 10 years ago. And Jojo can probably speak to this, to trying to get on those alternate lists. There's a very selfish piece of me that was always a little bitter of monopolizing the best swells, of big wave swells, because there's such rare events, especially when those really beautiful days show up. It sucks not to be able to be out there and surf it and have to run it and actually allow that many more surfers to surf all day. You don't just have your 1 hour heat. It does make it more competitive. And I think the total flip side of that, to argue it, is there's some really high performance things when something really happens in a heat and there is priority, and a person can sit where he wants to sit without being hustled, and not having Billy or Jamie Mitchell trying to paddle on your inside and take all your waves in your heat, I guess. So How do you feel about Jojo? I mean, you've been on the path of getting into contests and chasing it, getting into Nazaré, and is it? Would you rather go that route, or do you still want to go into the contest, or do both?
I love them all, to be honest. Like,
yeah.
I didn't get enough contests under my belt to like kind of find my place either. I got to surf Nazaré and Jaws twice, and I mean, this is awesome because it's like I've been and Jamie as well, just like every swell everywhere. I just want to surf as many big waves a year as I can. I've been on that path for the past, gosh, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 years of my life has been that route. And it's just like, I'm going to be at that swell, whether there's a contest, whether there's not, whether there's, I'm going, no matter what's going on. And it's cool that like the 20-foot plus thing, you're like, okay, I'm just going to go free surf. And if I get the wave that I'm looking for, then maybe I'll get something some money at the end of it all. And, it's really like, it's cool. I love it, and like I said, like there's always the contests that are like, contests are contests. Like they're exciting. They suck it sucks to lose. They're exciting to win. Like it's rad,
It's still entertaining, right? At the end of the day. Yeah, like I watched Portugal the other day and some of those heats, and like when it's rapid fire and shit's on the line, it's pretty cool to see what somebody could do under pressure.
I think I'll speak to the contest thing is that, like, I think there's a spot for both, right? Like, obviously, I think that, and that's the thing, myself and Zach, like with heavy water, like we've been working with the WSL to try and make those contests as good as they can be. I think the problem is that like the contests,
it's Mother Nature and small windows.
But like also just like other athletes not happy with the way they run. There's no priority, the prize money, right? So there's always when they come up each year, there's always this battle of like, are we going to do the contest? Are we not? And I just think if it was done the right way and the athletes were really truly happy, then everyone would really want to support it and do it. And then, what we're doing is completely opposite, like it's a different thing. But what it has done for me, what I think too, is like knowing that there's so little contests and stuff, is it's nearly taken the pressure off of being in it, because you know that on the good swells that. And the other thing that we wanted to do with 24 plus was it's not like it's in that moment. Like we don't want that wave to be lost in 7 months' time at the XXL Awards when there's all this, there's a million waves and who picks who and who gets in, like
capture the virality of it.
Like when I was trying to travel and get in these things, like I needed the money then to get to the next swell. And so that's the way I've been trying to look at this from a young Jamie of like, what was I doing? And with traveling with Jojo and listening to him, like how much he wanted to get in the contest. And so I was like, I always go back to listening to all these kids and people that have so much passion. I was like, well, what did they need? Well, they needed support, they needed money. So like, these kids go out and get $3 or $4 grand for a wave. Like they've got the budget now to go to that Nazaré swell and then get another good wave. And then all of a sudden, maybe that gives them a sponsorship, right? So it's thinking like that we're working out how to help these athletes. It's more than just giving them money. Here's 15 grand at the end of the year. Like young kid's probably going to go out and buy some rims on his car and go party and blow it. You know what I mean? Like, so, but along the way, how can we help that young kid get to point B, point C, point D to where he's now like he or she now has potential to put a great edit together to get more sponsorship and that, So, it's I think there's a world where everything lives together, but if it's not done right, it sucks. Like it makes me think about away from it. You walk away from it feeling dirty. You know what I mean? And so all I ask is that all we're trying to do is do it the right way.
We're going to say, Jojo?
It kind of brings that, like what he just said, it brings me back to like when there was 6 big wave contests and somebody would do good at their home spot and all of a sudden they just made money. Now they have the spot in the next contest it just kind of seems like it's like the new way of like having more events, and then more the swell's over. You just got that cash, you go to the next, and you do well, you go to the next. It's like you just like a progression point rather than like, let's all travel all year and try and get into the Jaws contest. And that's all there is anymore. And it's just kind of like it's a platform. Yeah. It's all about having a platform for waves.
And you can go to your sponsors or potential sponsors.
That's how you make a career out of it.
Yeah. And you can go and say, hey, we're going to be on this webcast. Come check it out. There's going to be 1 million people watching it, to a potential sponsor or whatever it is, and like you get interviewed or whatever, you got your hat on. So I think there's more opportunities in the world that we live with social media, the way that athletes are getting paid these days. It's more on that, how many people are watching, the views, the this and that, like in the analytics.
You just hit it where I was going. I sat with Ridge Lenny. Go for it.
And when it's relative too, like the swell's over, it's hot. It's relevant. Time is now, like that's how all social media works these days, which is cool, but it's awesome. It's like, while it's hot, and here it is. And that's what's cool about what these guys are doing.
I sat with Ridge Lenny a couple of weeks ago, and he's designed a pretty cool little lifestyle he's a hustler, he's an entrepreneur, but he wants to be a big wave surfer and chase swells. And he's mastered, which is what you guys are really doing, is being in control of that media and capturing that media and spinning it as quick as possible, getting it out there, getting the eyes, and he's getting checks back or getting quick endorsements. And he had a really cool take on it. He's like, I'm more valuable now not having a sticker on my board and working with one-off brands and doing campaigns. And he's like, he's just keeping it rolling now. So I'm working with the kid Ramon right now, or helping him with them a little bit where I can, and how to basically lifestyle design, how to pay the bills, how to be there for the good swells, because he has such an insane talent. He's fearless, and he wants to be there for the good swells. And I kind of pointed at him, somebody like you, to actually use your name. I'm like, dude, this guy went to the business school. He created a life. He's an entrepreneur, and he knows how to manage his time, manage his business, and he's there for the good swells. A guy like Cole is another example of that, where he's a sharp man. He knows how to get work done, take care of the family, and he's a hustler. I remember him back in the day, and he was always slinging cars, and he was renting cars and renting bunk beds in his room, doing whatever he could to make sure he was there for the pipe swell. And so luckily Patty only came along, but he went down the solar path as well. So and then I'm kind of in that same boat, as where work hard so I can play hard, so to have a job. So there's a couple different routes, but the big wave, without competition, the big wave route is pretty interesting, how to be there for those days. So I guess we're closing in an hour. Thank you. This went really quick. Let's talk about the Eddy swell. This is the big enchilada. So Jojo, tell me about your morning. Let's start with you, and then obviously Jamie, you were part of the game. So
my goal has always been to kind of get on the invite list for the Eddy.
Yeah.
And I'd actually got her the week before at Total Sacred. And I thought that I only had like a torn groin, which it was super painful down there. And I just kind of went into this like rehab mode, because that swell was so obvious. It was so big. It was so insane. And I was like, my goal is catch wave before the Eddy, standout wave. It's all that matters to me. And I flew over, and Jamie styled me out with his ski, and got everything prepared, launched in the dark, which was pretty aggressive of us to actually do that beach launch at Backyards that day.
Wow.
And drove outside the outer reefs into Waimea, because there's no way I was driving over and parking there and surfing and getting a spot and paddle out from the beach. And went in the dark. It was humongous. Got there, pulled up at dawn, and jumped off the ski and paddled out, and like within like 10 to 15 minutes, it's like I like kind of figured out my zone, found my spot in the lineup, and
sun's not even over the mountain when you caught that wave, huh?
Not at all, yeah. And this bomb came right at me, and I was like, oh my gosh, this thing's insane. And everybody's like paddling for the horizon. I'm kind of like, all right, where am I, man? It's been a while since I surfed this big, like just hold ground. And I held ground, and the thing bowled, and it was a pretty sick wave, and it exploded and tried to to knock me off, and my leg was burning so bad. I remember it so vividly, like looking up and the movement of like looking up at the lip coming and exploding next to me, like opened up my legs just enough to where I got this like shooting pain up my leg. And I was like, oh, and I like, just, you have to ride this wave out. Like that was like the only mindset I had, and somehow made it through and kicked down the channel. I was like, mission accomplished. Like, so I was so livid and I was so happy about it. And I was pretty stoked. And then I went and tried to surf elsewhere, and the pain kicked in. And I found out later that that day at Todos, I had torn the labrum in my hip because I had a wipeout, and the lip hit me in the waist. My leg went like out there, and I thought it was all my leg. So I had a torn labrum in my hip, and I found out like a little more recently that I had a broken back as well, a fractured L3. So it's funny to look back now.
Doing a little CrossFit with a broken back.
I might have done that too a little bit. But it's funny to look back at it now, and it's all like sinking in, like even a month and a half later, like, wow, I like really like pounced on the situation. I took advantage of it. And it helps when Jamie's preaching in my ear, like, this is what you got to do. And it was cool. Like even the Eddie got called off. He was like, you still got to go. You still got to get away before the contest. Like, and it was stuck in my mind. Like, this is what you got to do. Like, and did that. And I was pretty stoked. And then tried to surf that elsewhere, and then ended up coming in and then came down and just got there right before his second heat, and it was just bombing, and it was so incredible. Just like the stadium and of it all, like everybody's screaming, it was wild. And just
were you watching from the water?
No, I brought the ski back, brought it to his house, and then hopped on a bike and powered down there.
Nice.
And just watched the show. It's just incredible. Like I was like, this is what I want. This is everything, you know. So one day.
And how was it for you, Jamie?
Yeah, it was awesome, man. I mean, I had an injury as well going into it with my ribs, so I was not feeling great. I was in a lot of pain the whole day. So that really changed my approach. That for that day, I didn't get to surf the way that I would love to have surfed that day, but it was good. I got a bunch of beautiful waves. I got 3 really, really nice, good, like beautiful waves I kicked out in the channel. And then, but yeah, just to be a part of it, I think it's insane, dude. Like I got a story about Jojo's wave too. So me and Pete Mel stayed at my house. We're in the road driving down my truck with the family, everyone heading down. It's like 5:36 and we get stuck at 3 tables, and the cops aren't letting any cars go because there's so many people. They're overflowing into the road. So the cops didn't want the cars running over anyone. So we're stuck. Like we saw Nathan Florence walk past. There's people just walking past, and we're like stuck there. And we're like, oh, this is getting a little bit like antsy, you know what I mean? But we're sitting there, and as the sun comes up, you hear this massive scream from the crowd that's already at the, you know, at Waimea watching, you know. And I'm like, oh man, someone just got a fucking sick wave, you know, and that was Jojo's wave. Like what I heard sitting there with Jojo's wave, right? And we've worked it out later, but it was insane, dude. It was the biggest Waimea I've ever seen. It was consistent. Like there was like 3 closeout sets every heat, wave after wave, getting bigger all day. 20 feet in the morning ends up being 25 plus by the evening, and super surfable, super makeable. I think the first heat or 2, maybe just from the energy starting to come, had a bit of the rip running through the bay up the face. There was a little bit of chatter those first couple of heats, but it just got better and better. And then, yeah, dude, it was a 25-foot point break Waimea, like with light winds, you know, and lots of waves. Like Waimea is usually like they'll come in, like you could go out there and have a heat for 40 minutes and not even get a set. I mean, you had the chance
one,
to
there
get,
was one.
you had a chance to get 2 or 3 big waves in every heat, you know, like if you are patient, weren't getting hassled or, you know, in the right spot and stuff, there was opportunities to get, you know, giant waves. And And there was just so many good performances. Healy was a standout for me. Obviously, Luke, John obviously was insane out there as well. But, I mean, what a story. Lifeguard on duty.
Right.
Doesn't get much better than that, right? It's like the fairy tale, right? It's so I'm stoked for Luke. He was, depending on your take on what you look at, what a good waves at the Eddie. People have different takes on it. Like, is it steep and deep in the bowl? Is it the closeout ones a bit wider? It's sort of irrelevant. They're all pretty damn massive and exciting, and I think that Luke was wholeheartedly deserved of that win. I think, like I said, I think Healy had that smoking second heat where he was just on fire. He got like 4 25-footers like in a row, and so it was cool to see him do his thing out there. And yeah, man, it was rad.
It was cool. One of the videos, Healy's like, I found the spot, my lineup. I zeroed in on it, and he knew exactly where he wanted to be. And how was it? I saw a drone video that like put it so in perspective, because it was pulled back and it was one of those huge sets, and you could see logs in the back, and it was like this freight training down from basically 3 tables, and then you had the whole, and then it would start feathering in the channel. How was it like holding your line when it just?
Yeah, it was because it was consistently seeing these dark ones pop up, and Waimea is pretty known for like sort of like Mabs in a way. It's like the bowl is the bowl and the ledge is the ledge. Like you can chip in further out, but like you've got to hold your ground. There's a lot of times where you paddle out and everyone's like, oh shit, now they're swinging. Like, and if you held your ground, you're in the right spot. It's a tough one, man. But like the lines were so razor ruler edged, and on even average Waimea days, looking at Sharks Cove and 3 tables, like you're like, oh my God, like your mind surf like whipping into those waves sometimes, but you're like, but that day looking up there was like looking at a 25-foot J-Bay. Wow. There was just the most incredible top to bottom mutants just running down there, and then when the swell hit us where we were, you just, the waves that I saw were so like perfect. Like I saw one wave that I got it and it was my turn, and they're like, how you going? I'm like, yeah, I'm going. I'm just like if I fuck this up, like I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? It was just so like, this is the spot, this is the bottom, like, and it was just like, they just looked so good. You know what I mean? And, and Healy found his spot. It was like, he realized that he was not going to sit right in under the ledge. He was going to move towards the channel where the closeouts were, but a little in. So he was just getting those, not the full closeouts, but the big ones that were sort of sliding by everyone. He was inside under there, and he found his rhythm there. And there was just a lot of opportunities to get waves in different spots that you normally wouldn't be sitting out at the bay.
Wow. Jaws that day was just the craziest I think I've ever seen it. Just, wow. It wasn't the tallest, but it was just the meanest. There's so much energy, but kind of like what you just said, by the end of the afternoon, there's been a couple good wipeouts, and if you wanted a 30-footer, there was one out the back, 5-wave set. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that image of Shaun Walt. There's a really good one of Shaun, and you just see how that thing looks so thick and angry, and there's so much volume in that wave. You look at that and go, wow, that's a whole nother level of what we're trying to paddle.
It was just bending on itself, and the waves were actually like draining off the reef that day. Just, if you surfed Honolulu, I was comparing it. It's similar to Honolulu, where it was like doing 30-foot keiki bowl, just bending on itself and eating itself. And like, they were actually super challenging to ride because they were so square, and you'd have to just be so technical with your line. So
that's exactly how the outer reefs were too. When I went that direction, I was tripping on those. I was wishing I was on my A game that day. I was like, couldn't believe what I was seeing. Just 25 feet and just like the 30-foot closeouts from like that wave to the next wave. It was wild. That flow was unique, to say the least.
Yeah. Wow. And that's the thing too. Like, I think like with waves like Jaws and that, like, are they necessarily going to get taller? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that was a perfect example, like that swell for the eddy. Like you've seen waves that tall at Jaws, right? Many times, but like the thickness and the volume of the water and what it's doing, like I think that is it's not necessarily like you get a 30 at 20 at Jaws. Like, is it going to be 80 foot tall? Maybe not. It might just be like just
60 by 80.
Well, yeah. Yeah, you know, like just the thickness and the width and the volume, like just might be off the top.
I was a Grom and I went and watched the swell of 98, the conditioned black day, and they towed it and barely, it was doing VLAN double ups. It was like a 15, 20 foot wave, barreled, spit, turned into a white water ball into like a 30 foot wave that ate itself. It was I've never, like, they just
falling on one of those. Imagine falling on one of those. You'd be drug on the bottom of the ocean, that period, just straight to the bottom and just drug with the energy of the rocks.
I've yet to see a wave behave like that again. So, well, thank you, gentlemen. We're getting right down to the end of it. So have you had a chance? I would love to ask like kind of like the core question of what this podcast is and energy conversions. And as big wave surfers, we're pretty tuned into waves and frequencies and the way, let me just read this. Basically, with Nikola Tesla, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. In physics, the definition of energy is that which allows work to be done. And then the law of conservation basically is energy is just being transferred from one medium to another and never gets diffused. It always just gets transferred. It's just a vibration. And we're in one of the purest forms as big wave surfers. So you can take this any direction, whether it's training or what you eat in your food, but what's an amazing conversion of energy in your life or something fascinating or important inputs and outputs, I guess. So who wants to take the floor first?
I think it's, I think for a perfect example, like when you're sitting at Jaws and we're in the water, that you can tell the energy of different periods of swells, right? Like we're all sitting there and it's the common thing. It's like, shit, man, this 20-second energy is way gnarlier than 18-second or 17 seconds, you know? Mm-hmm. And so for me, I think that's the purest form that we get to feel like we're in it. And you like Jojo just said, if you wipe out on a 20-second period at Mavericks or Jaws, it's a whole nother animal, man. Like you just like, what was that, you know? And then that transforms into energy into humans, you know, the energy that you give off in the water to the other people around you. Like we've all been out there with like good energy, you know, creates good energy, I feel like. And then there's some people that have bad energy and bad vibrations and you can feel them suck the energy out of you as well, you know? And so I think for me, like when I think of energy like that, I just think that that's, you know, like just that every day we're looking at, as surfers, big wave surfers, we're looking at that swell energy, you know, and we're in it all the time, you know, from 2 feet 11 seconds to 20 at 20, you know, like it's constantly changing and keeping us on our toes.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Jojo.
Kind of with them in the same sense, but I'll take like that the eddy swell for example, like all that craziness, all that like pounding. Those swells wash up like they wash up on the beach. Like, are they over? No, I think they're almost like you get that energy out of those things. And then that's like this fire inside of you that's like trying to fire you back up for the next time that happens, or like the next swell and the next like 25-second period. It's like just all pent up inside of you, so to say. And like it just creates that fire like of like chasing the next giant storm of energy to this place around there, or Mavericks or Jaws or wherever it is, you know, like you're just chasing that like wherever it is. And
that's we're not just addicts chasing the dragon.
That I got to it.
you could take the energy from what you got, that swell, you know, transform that into like training, you know,
that's what I mean. Yeah, you got that fire.
Energy into training. Then you take that training into being in the best shape of your life to the next best swell, and that transform into getting another great wave in that energy, and it can just continually perpetuate forward, right? So something that you got in the eddy swell, you could correlate that to a wave that you get cloud break in June or someone like that. You can take your steps back and go, it's all connected, all the way back to that certain spot or that certain wave.
I want that eddy swell energy straight into my rehab and my program to get 100% 10 times faster.
I'm going to roll that with you. Boom.
I want that.
You want to be a big wave surfer?
Heal my ass.
You'd be a bunch of broken dudes in the springtime trying to rehab for the next winter. Jones is like a fiend.
Yeah.
I might edit that out, but thank you, gentlemen. That was pretty rad. That went way too quick. So that was good stuff. So
thank you guys.
We'll sign off on that one. So we're
all right.
Podcast is over, but have a good night. I'm gonna chit chat.
Thanks, Shaun.